What's up, guys? My name's Alexis, your host with Praises in the Pod, and I am so excited to be here with Rachel Ferraris today. We are going to be talking about her testimony, everything in between, and just what God has done in your life. So we're super excited about it. We're going to start off in prayer, and then we're going to jump right in. So here we go. Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you for today and all of your many blessings, dear God. Thank you for bringing us here where we can talk about your goodness and your faithfulness and what all you have done in our lives. No matter what, no matter valley, no matter where we are in life, we know that you are right there beside us, and we are just so thankful for that. We pray that you speak to us and through us today, and let this episode glorify you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen, Rachel. All right, so let's jump right in. Let's start around your childhood. Tell us a little bit about how you grew up.
Okay. I was the youngest of three kids. There was a big age difference between me and my siblings. They were 13 and 15. I always laugh and say, yeah, I wasn't the accident. They were.
That's a big age gap.
It was a big age gap. My dad was a state trooper, and my mom kind of realized that she was fixing me home by herself. And she was young when she had my sister that's the oldest. And so she said, hey, let's have a baby.
Yeah.
So
wow,
back then, that was considered way advanced maternal age for her at the time, but I was totally planned, and of course they always had to pick on me about that. But I grew up in a small rural town in North Florida.
Okay.
My grandparents were next door, so we were always a tight-knit family, and my other grandparents lived about 15 minutes away, so we would have lunch with them every other Sunday. And lots of cousins in town, lots of family in town. My parents were Christians. We were raised in a Christian home. They were not always active, but that was, with my dad working, as I said, a state trooper, his shift changed every 28 days. So it was very inconsistent with his time off.
Yeah.
For that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But
a lot of people relate to that. Like, a lot of people, believe in God. They trust in God. Maybe they read devotions at home, but they're not actively going to church. And so that's basically what you're saying is like your parents were Christians and stuff, but y'all weren't actively in the church.
We were correct at the time. And then when I hit middle school, I got like, well, I want to go do this. And, a lot of positive peer pressure with friends. And so my mom would get me up, or not, I would actually get myself up and then say, Mama, will you drive me to church before I could? And she would drive me and drop me off and then come back and pick me up.
I love that.
And so she would do the shuffle, and then we would talk about it. A lot of times she would listen on the radio.
Yeah. And at this time, your older siblings are probably at the house now.
They've been gone. My brother, he graduated from high school in May, and I started kindergarten in August.
Wow.
And my sister.
So you're an only child.
I was an only child and quite spoiled. With grandparents next door. And then my siblings, my sister she stayed in town, and she was the one that was 15 years older.
Yeah. I bet she acted like you were her own little daughter.
She did at times. She did.
Yeah.
But we were not close then, but we're closer now.
Oh, good.
We're closer now.
All right. So middle school, you start going to church and stuff. Do you get saved around that same time? Or
as I was saved actually as an elementary, still as a child, as a small child, and then just kind of drifted back and forth.
Yeah.
You had the mountaintop experiences at camps and different things, and then got a little older and still just kind of like, well, I guess I'll just go by myself. But then just had good friends and I had a cousin. We were more like sisters. And she lived 15 miles away. So I would do a lot with her and her she went to a bigger church. So I would drive over, now that I could drive, because Mama wasn't driving me that far.
Yeah. She was like, you got a car, you can go.
You got a car, you can go, and you can pay for your own gas.
Yep, absolutely.
And so we did. And
nice. So after graduation, let's talk a little bit about your early adulthood and what that looks like.
Just what I would say, just normal. I still continued in church. Stayed very active because now I'm on my own. Still living at home, but on my own kind of thing. And then my husband and I, we actually met the day after my 21st birthday.
Oh, wow.
And so I always laughed and said he was the birthday present I could never give back.
Nice.
30-something years later, we're still celebrating that birthday.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That is such a huge accomplishment.
It is.
That is a story in itself.
It is. It really is. And that goes into part of my story. We moved to Warner Robins. Our boys, so we got married. So we met in 92, got married in 93, and then our children were born in 95 and 99. I had one of those 1999 babies.
Right on the cusp.
Right on December of 99.
Oh, really on the cusp.
Really on the cusp. Yeah, I had not 95, 96. We had an Olympic baby, and then we had a 1999.
Wow. So how did y'all end up in Warner Robins?
My husband's work moved us. We could live anywhere we wanted to in his territory.
And y'all chose here?
And we did. we were in Atlanta, and we were trying to get closer to Florida. And originally we were looking at Lee County, and then he realized that he spent more time in Macon and Warner Robins. And so it took 9 months for our house to sell because the market was not like it was these days.
Now you put a house on the market, it's gone the next
You better
day.
have a plan. Yep. You better have a plan. And our house, so we listed it in January, and we didn't move until October. And when school started that year, our oldest was in 2nd grade. I said something at church because now we're going to my parents' church. My dad had passed away, so it's just my mom. And she's gotten more involved now at this point. And so we were going with her. And I said something at church about choir. They had asked me about the Christmas program. I said, I won't be here. We're going to be gone. We will not be here. Count me out. But we started praying specifically for our house, not for our house to sell, but for the family that God had planned for that to be their home. We flipped it and said to God, we need to sell this house. Help us sell this house. We said, okay, God, clear the path for whose home this is supposed to be.
That's beautiful.
And within like 2 weeks, then we had an offer.
Wow.
And that's where it got even crazier. Was a pastor that bought the house, and they're still in it.
Wow.
And they are still in it. They are still in it.
That's awesome.
So we moved down here. We picked Houston County because of schools. We were coming from North Cobb, and so we had amazing schools up there. That year, a Cobb County school was rated the #1 high school in the country.
Dang.
And Houston County had actually outscored them on their test scores.
Wow.
So we were like, oh, okay, well, that's
the one.
that's where we're going to be.
Yeah.
That's what we picked. Had no idea. I worked off Marietta Square. We lived not far from downtown Kennesaw, so we had all that pretty part of Cobb County. The first time I came to look at houses, Scott showed me the Watson end, the base end of Watson.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't live here.
This ain't it.
This is not where I want to be.
Yeah.
But God had another plan, and he knew exactly right where we were supposed to be, because then, as you and I've talked, in 2006, our lives changed. We were.
Yep. So let's go ahead and jump to 2006 if you want to.
We are living our best lives. My husband's job is better than it's ever been. Boys are doing great in school. Joseph was in 4th grade. John David was in kindergarten. I'm subbing, doing PTO room mom, all those things, just living our best life. And then in November of actually 2005, I had noticed a change in my breast. And I showed it to my husband. And he's like, I don't see what you're talking about. And he just brushed his teeth and went to bed. Fast forward to February, and we're getting ready for bed one night, and he was like, I had gotten out of the shower, and he pointed at me and he said, that doesn't look right. And what I saw in November had grown tremendously by the end of February. And so I told him, I'm not really worried about it. I'm going next week to my OBGYN appointment. I'll get them to look at it. I'm sure it's nothing. I'm only 35.
I was just about to ask how old you were then.
I was 34 because I turned 35 the next month. And so I go, and the doctor, he's, oh, you're too young. Don't worry about it. I did convince him to do a mammogram, and that came back completely normal. What had happened was, I guess it's okay to say this.
We're female. This is a good space.
Okay, my nipple had completely inverted on one side. I mean, completely. So we did a mammogram that came back normal, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, my nipple is inverting even more. And I was sitting at soccer while the boys were practicing one night, and I was talking to a friend who's a nurse. And I told her what was going on because I said, the doctor says it's normal. The mammogram says it's normal, but this doesn't feel normal. And she said, I don't think so either. She said, I think you need to go see somebody else. So I went to my primary care, and I showed her, and she's like, I don't know. And her office, she was building, and she was in a temporary office. And her nurse would stand in front of the door because the door for that exam room was right by the lobby. So the nurse would always stand in front of the door. So that way, if somebody opened it, they didn't come in. And so after she did her exam, she said, would you mind if I have my nurse to do another breast exam? And I said, sure. You know, I don't care if I had kids. I don't care.
At this point, multiple people's
multiple at this point.
Yeah.
And so and I love this doctor, and she said, I'm not going to tell you to worry about it because that's my job. But I want to send you to somebody that knows more about this than I do, and we're going to let them look at it. And I said, okay. Still not worried.
Still calm, cool,
collected. My mom came up to go with me, and and my dad was still living at that point. So they came. Dad was off with the boys. Mom was with me, and I am there for hours. I mean, 4 hours, because I see the doctor. He does another exam, and then he says, let's do a mammogram. I want to compare them. So they do the mammogram, but you're going to wait. You're going to sit here. So I waited. I did the mammogram. And then the nurse came back in and said, don't get dressed yet. We're going to go do an ultrasound. And I'm like, okay. So I go and do the ultrasound, and I'm laying on the table, my arms up over my head. And I look at the technician, and it was not a technician. It was the radiologist. And then I'm like, what's a radiologist doing that? You know, that kind of, then should I start to get a little worried?
Yeah.
And I go back to my room, and they finally say, you can get dressed. And the doctor comes in, and he says, well, I'm going to give you 2 choices, but you really only have one. We can redo all of this in 6 months, or we can do a biopsy next week and find out what's going on. So my response was, what day?
Yeah.
What day? And my poor sweet mom, she said, do you need to talk to Scott about that? And I said, no, because I know his answer. I know he's going to say, go ahead and get it scheduled. So we did. Went home that weekend for a family wedding, came back, had the biopsy on a Friday, and then we were leaving for the beach on Saturday. But I persuaded the doctor to call me. I said, I don't want to wait. Call me and let me know.
Especially leaving that and coming back a week later, I'm sure that was very nerve-wracking.
It was a long week at the beach. Yeah. It was a long week. And he said, well, I'll have the results by Tuesday. And I said, okay. So this was in 2006. The boys had just finished school. So we were all, it's right at the end of the year, 4th grade, end of the year, kindergarten. We go to the beach, and I'm getting my bathing suit on, and one of the boys notices my bandage on my bathing suit. I'm like, what's that for? Like, Mommy's got a boo-boo. Nothing to worry about. this was also the year after Hurricane Katrina. And we had done a lot to help people here that had evacuated from New Orleans and Louisiana. And so that year there was a heavy forecast for hurricanes. There were no hurricanes that hit our area that year. However, on that Tuesday, June 13th, 2006, a tropical storm hit Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
While you are there.
While we were there, and that's the day I'm getting the phone call. So that morning we get up, because we know the storm's coming in that afternoon. We go down to the beach, and I literally have my phone in my bathing suit because I don't want to miss the phone call. And we play at the beach, and we get dressed, we go to the boardwalk, and we're walking around the boardwalk because can't get to the beach. It's raining, it's drizzling. And if you know my husband, we tease him that he's so tight he squeaks when he walks. But that's a good thing. It's a good thing. And still no phone call. Still no phone call. It's way after lunch, still no phone call. And there was a photo booth that has the green screen, and they have the surf shirts and surfboards. Well, there's nobody taking pictures because it's raining. And the photographer motions to my husband and says, "Hey, come over here. Come over here. I'll give you a picture if y'all will take a picture, because if I'm taking pictures, then it looks like then I'm busier.
Yeah.
And you get a free souvenir." And he's like, "Hey, free souvenir. Check."
Yep. That sounds good.
So he's doing that with the boys. And that's exactly when my phone rang. And that was totally a God thing. That we were standing there, he had no one, so that way my boys were distracted.
Yeah.
Because they don't know anything at this point. And the surgeon calls. I step over, and I'm standing under the awning of a building. And he says, "Rachel, you've got breast cancer." And he said, "But we think we've caught it early. And if you have to have it, it's the best kind to have." And tears are rolling down my face. And my husband looks at me. And I start shaking my head. And then he knows we don't have to say anything. He can tell by the look on my face what's going on. And we walk around. We just keep going. Later, we learned that Miss Mona and Brother Dennis were there too.
Oh, wow.
And they were like 5 steps ahead of us everywhere we went that day. But I always talked about, when I've told my story before, about how the rain was drizzling. So everybody looked awful. Nobody knew I was crying because they all looked like I did too. And but we continue our vacation.
I'm just sitting here, and I'm like, that is just so hard to hear when you're 35 years old.
Yep.
35, and just being
with a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Yes, just being like freshly with young kids, like so much, and so scared probably. Like your emotions are just like probably numb at that moment. Yeah.
Yep. We called my parents and told them, and I called my little circle of friends. It just so happened that they were all together that night. And so I could tell everybody at one time.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to call 5 different people. This is when you're texting, you paid per text.
So kind of best y'all were together.
So it was a good thing that everybody was together. But only our inner circle knew. Not everybody knew yet. Of course, we called Brother Jerry.
Yeah.
And told him. So we finished our vacation. We come home on Sunday, and then we go to the doctor, and they decide to do a lumpectomy. So my original tumor was 2.5 centimeters.
And like a big grape.
Yeah, kind of like a big grape. And then they go out 5 centimeters, so a $50 size, and they cannot get a clear margin. The sentinel node, that's the lymph node that's closest to the tumor. It was grossly diseased to the naked eye. It had tumors growing out of it. So he basically glued me up and put me in recovery. and went and told my husband that it was more advanced than he thought. And what we thought was caught early ended up being stage 3C out of 4. I had 25 lymph nodes removed, and 13 of those were positive. Wow. So the lumpectomy happened on a Friday. And on Saturday, I had my meltdown. My parents are here. Again, only my inner circle knows.
Do your boys know at this?
Nope.
Okay, still.
Boys still don't know. Boys still don't know. Just the inner circle knows. And on Saturday, my niece had called, and I was 12 when she was born, so she's younger. So I'm her aunt, but I'm just like, yeah, when you're only 12, just a 12-year age difference. She called from Pennsylvania, and my husband had done a very good job of protecting me, where if you showed up at my door and you were crying, he'd say, "Thank you so much for coming by. We're going to let you come back later." He protected me, but he was upstairs. He had gone into researcher mode, and he is researching and Googling and, full mode of being a detective.
Yeah.
The boys still don't know what's going on, and they just think, oh, Mimi and Paw Paw are here, and they're just here longer than a weekend kind of thing. That my niece had called, and that was the one time that my husband couldn't protect me, because then she lost it on the phone. And I took the phone. Thankfully, it was house phone at the time, and I threw it across the room, and it hit a wall. And my mom's picking up the phone because her granddaughter's on the phone, and she knows she's upset. Yeah. And I take off running, and I flop down on my bed, and I lose it. I lose it. And my dad comes running after me. This is where I'm going to need this. And he grabs me because I'm a daddy's girl. And he holds me. And of course, and then Scott has heard the noise. And he comes down. And my daddy pushes me off of him and hands me to my husband. And my dad then goes to my mom because she needed him. And knowing my daddy, I know that was so hard because he was supposed to be my protector. But he knew that my husband was, he knew that's what he had to do.
Yeah.
And Scott called a friend of ours that's a pharmacist because they had given me something to help me relax if I needed it. And I had not taken anything at that point. And so because I was also on pain medicine, and I had just taken pain medicine. So he called her and said, "Can she take this with that?" And she said, "Yes." And she said, "And you need to take one too."
She could already tell through the phone.
Like, "You need to take one too." So I'm not taking it. And I don't know if he did or not. But he put me to bed because with the anxiety medicine and the pain medicine, he put me to bed. And then Sunday morning we get up and we go to church, and I'm just numb. I am more numb than I was the day that I got the phone call, because now I know it's way more advanced. Yeah, way more advanced. Our message that Sunday is one I'll never forget, and it was about how we all go through dark times, that God sends someone to light the path out of our darkness. And I felt like that message was for me because it was very dark for me. I sat there, and when the altar call opened up, I went to the altar, but I couldn't pray. I cried, but I couldn't form words. There was only one word that I could put together, and that was help. And then I could add, "Help me." And now in my inner circle, they come and they pray over me. And I can still hear Miss Debbie praying about how God knew I was in a dark spot and that he would send someone to light the path out of that dark spot. And that she was praying for a miracle. She was praying for a miracle. We go to lunch, and while I was in the restroom, a friend looks at my husband and says, Scott, Rachel's faith is very weak right now. Oh. And he said, I know. And she's so wise. She is so wise. One of the wisest people I've ever met. And she looked at him and she said, but that's okay. Weak faith is better than no faith. And she still has faith. And he said, okay, you're right. So we go home. Again, he puts me to bed because I need a nap. I'm worn out. And while I'm napping, he's praying and he's researching. His mom passed away a year after we got married, and we called her Angel. And I had these little angels that were hers. They were in both of our boys' nurseries. Sweet. And when I woke up, he had gone and had moved those angels. So they were the first thing that I saw when I woke up. And then he tells me about the conversation, about my faith being weak. And I'm just listening. Because I had no words. If you know me at all, to know that I'm speechless. People are like, something's really wrong. Something's really wrong. But I just listened. We went back to church that night. And our worship, during our time of worship, we sang 3 songs. I Surrender All, Just As I Am, and My Life Is in Your Hands.
Wow.
Now,
spoke to you again.
Again, this is just for me. Everybody else got the benefit.
Y'all are just here.
Y'all are just here.
Me and God are on this wavelength.
This is God just talking straight to me. And where I had cried, help me. Then we sang that. And I grew up singing Just As I Am. I mean, I played piano as a child, and that was one of my favorite hymns to play.
That's beautiful.
And I Surrender All. That was one of my other favorites to sing. I mean, to play. I don't sing. But then when we hit that, My Life Is in Your Hands, I popped up and my hands were raised. And I closed my eyes, and I swear the choir came down and surrounded me. And then when I opened my eyes,
there was nobody.
There was nobody. Yeah. There was nobody. But I know I was surrounded with angels.
Yeah.
That day.
Good.
I know I was surrounded. And then I went back to that altar that night. And I said, all right, God, you've put this in my life. I'm giving it back to you. You picked me for this. Now use me. And that's June 13th. Was 19 years ago.
Wow. I love how you end with that of just saying, God, you gave this to me and I'm giving it back to you. Because one of the things that changed my life that I actually talked to another girl on the podcast about is she told me, she was like, God gives us more that we can handle, that we can't hold, so that we do turn around and give it back to him. And you just literally quoted what she said that changed my life. So I'm like, what?
And I haven't listened to that one yet.
Wow. So it's like, well, it hasn't even came out yet. I don't think. So yeah, I think it comes out next month. But that is just absolutely amazing. But so how are you feeling with God? Like, was there a period of time where like you're angry, or maybe you're just numb really until that night?
The night I threw the phone.
Yeah.
The night I threw the phone. And then after that.
Yeah.
I had 13 surgeries in the first 3 years.
That's a lot.
I had more than 20 the first 5. I had non-textbook complications from my reconstruction. Had no issues with chemo. I had 6 rounds of chemo, 6 weeks of daily radiation. I still take 1 oral medication.
Wow.
I've hit the 5-year plan of that, but one of the doctors that I saw after I finished my 5-year plan, he's like, you should have had a recurrence. by now. And I don't know why you haven't.
Amen.
And I looked at him and said,
Yeah.
I know why.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with what you did. Mm-hmm. And he said, you're right. Or he said, you're right. So my cancer, what people saw it as a roadblock. I actually grew from my cancer. I learned to be a voice from myself. I felt like I had always been a voice for others, but to be a voice for myself was totally different. One day I got an email about an opportunity to go to DC and represent Middle Georgia, to represent breast cancer survivors from Middle Georgia. And I'm like,
amazing.
That sounds like fun.
Let me go.
Oh, wait. Oh, and I get a travel grant, so they'll pay for it, and I can go away for a couple of days. Yeah.
With a home full of boys.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I did, and that's a whole nother story. I actually found myself on Capitol Hill. They paired me with a lobbyist, with a paid person, and after the second meeting, she was like, "You don't need me. You're good." And I'm like, "What? What?" I've been now almost 20 times, and I've actually gone toe-to-toe and corrected some Congress members on some misinformation that they had, to the point that they thanked me.
Wow.
They said, you told me what I needed to hear, not what you thought I wanted to hear. I would have never done that before. I've done some advocacy. I've done advocacy. I've done research. I've sat on research panels.
Wow.
I've met researchers from across the globe. In fact, I Facebook messaged a friend the other day that lives in New Zealand. That's a breast and ovarian cancer researcher.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
You just got people everywhere now.
I got people everywhere.
That is amazing. So with all of that, let's kind of talk about, because you say you grew so much. Like, I'm sure you had to truly lean on God. 3 years, and it's just surgery after surgery after surgery. So, like, what does that look like going into surgeries, or like you and your husband's relationship and how that is?
So one at my mastectomy, I had so my word became courage. Through the whole thing, courage, that was my word. And the morning of my mastectomy, when I got up, of course, we had to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning. I had to be there super early. And I'm sitting on the side of the bed, and Scott asked me, he said, you ready? And I shook my head. No. Mm-mm. And he gently but firmly held my little cheeks and said, have courage. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. And so we're there, and they put me in holding. They take me from pre-op to now pre-op holding. And the case before took longer than it was supposed to. So I'm back there totally by myself for over an hour. I am blind as a bat without my contacts, so I can't see. And I'm just laying in a gurney all alone. But I'm right in front of the nurse's station, and I can hear the nurse, and I know she's talking to Scott. And she comes over to me. She said, I just talked to your husband, and they're ready for you. So we're going to be going back in a few minutes. And then he told me to remind you to have courage.
Oh.
And I started to cry. And she said, can I pray for you?
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't answer her, but I nodded my head. And I thought she was just going to, say, okay, I'll pray for you and I'll go off on her merry. No, ma'am. She ripped that curtain closed around my gurney. She grabbed my hands and laid them over my chest. And she prayed out loud over me, for my children, for my husband, for the surgeon, for every part of my care team. And she remembered the word courage.
That's beautiful.
And she prayed for me to have courage. And then when she opened the curtain back up, the transporter was there to take me down, and she looked at him and she said, I'm good. I'm going to take her down. And so she was the charge nurse, and she pushed me down to the OR. And she parked me outside the OR. And she asked the nurse anesthetist to come out. She said, she's not going in here awake. You're going to come out here and give her something because she's not going in there awake.
Seeing all that.
And seeing everything. Well, her name was Tina. And when, as I said, I had 13 surgeries in 3 years. She was probably my pre-op nurse 9 of those times.
Wow. That is unheard of. I mean, those nurses change regular.
And Tina, like, we became friends. When I had my reconstruction, she was off that day, but she saw that I was on the schedule. And so she made a note and swapped with somebody to come the day after so that she could come and see me on the floor. And she hunted me down to come and find me to see me because she's like, I missed you yesterday. And she had a family thing. She said, I tried to trade, but I couldn't. I had a family thing, but I had to come and see you.
I love how God just sends these people in our lives. Like he already said at the beginning, you said that, that he was going to provide someone to light the path. So he did that all the way through.
All the way through.
And then to have Tina pretty much
all my surgeries.
Yes. Just encouragement. And I just love how there is many times where it's like, we'll pray for you. Like we're praying for you. But she said, no, we're doing it right here and right now.
Right now.
Prayer warrior.
Yep. Yep. She was amazing. And, thankfully, I haven't had to see her in a long time. I think but she was just, I had an amazing care team. My husband, he took care of me. He took care of laundry. He worked, he still worked. Needless to say, I couldn't work.
Yeah.
My treatment was all day on Tuesday, and it was literally all day. And Wednesday was his work from home day. It was his report day. So I would sleep all day on Wednesday. My parents would drive up on Wednesday night because my dad had retired, but my mom was working 3 days a week. And so on my chemo weeks, she would work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then they would drive up and then they would take care of the boys and this and that. On Fridays, she would say, all right, get up, go get dressed, go get in the shower. And I'm like, I can't. I said, go get the shower. I'm your mama. Go get in the shower. And she would sit on the stool in my bathroom while I showered. I mean, I didn't have any hair, so it didn't take as long to get it ready. But then she would be there with my towel. And she'd wrap me in my towel and help me dry off. And she'd put my robe on me. Okay, go lay down. And then I'd lay down for a few minutes. She'd, okay, what are you going to wear?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. Okay, you want this shirt or you want this shirt? So she was
trying to make sure you didn't go into that funk. Yep. Because no matter how old you are, your mom was your
mama's baby girl.
Yeah.
You say your mama's girl. And so we would get up, we'd go to Target, we'd go to Publix, we'd go somewhere. They'd put me in a wheelchair because I didn't have the strength to walk. And then we would go to Gingy's. We would go to Gingy's for lunch, and I didn't have an appetite. And she would ask she told the waitress, she's like, she's going through chemo, so she can't eat a lot. Yeah. And I'm like, Mama, I think they can look at me and tell. But they would let me get a kid's meal. And so we would do that, and then they'd come home, and then I'd take a nap. Then they'd get the boys from school. The principals at my boys' schools, they learned my parents. They called them by name. They knew their cars. They said, hey, Miss Ruth. Hey, Mr. Newt. How'd things go this week? The schools just took excellent care of not just me, but my kids.
Yeah.
The principal at the primary school, she was one of the first people that we told outside of our circle, because I knew that going into first grade, John David didn't need a teacher that was counting down the days to retirement. Mm-hmm. He didn't need somebody that was green, that was trying to figure it out. Not that there's anything wrong with either one of those, but that's not what he needed. Mm-hmm. Well, she took it a step further and said, who's his best friend? Because that's who's going to pick up on him not being his normal self.
Yeah.
And if something happens and you're in the hospital, that's who he's going to go home with. And I'm like, I never thought of it
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way. Joseph School, I was on PTO there. I had just started a big flower bed.
Okay.
Right. Because there's nothing's fixing to happen because, so let's start a whole new flower bed. Well, then when we got the phone call, I couldn't get out and work in the yard. And I look outside one day and PTO was in my yard. And it had started with one mom and had gone to another mom who had called another mom. And they were picking up limbs. We have pecan trees, so they drop limbs all the time. They're picking up limbs. They're trimming. They had gone and bought flowers.
Wow.
And had planted flowers at my front door so that every time I stood at my front door,
I saw some beautiful
I saw beautiful flowers. So that way I always had flowers. They took care of my kids, my circle, my friends. They took care of not just me and my husband, but they took care of my kids. One of my friends, she likes to do laundry.
I ain't never heard of that. And if she still loves to do laundry, I got some stuff for her.
So she came one night and told the boys, okay, bring me all your dirty clothes. And she took a basket home to her house and washed and dried and folded clothes.
Wow. God just kept sending them.
We had so much food. We had to buy a freezer. Well, we already had the freezer, but half of Houston County had the coat to our garage. And we had casseroles and this, and I don't know what. People would just come by and open the garage door, put it in the freezer, close the garage door, and leave.
I love that. Well, as we begin to close a little bit, I would love to hear, I'm going to give you 3 options.
Okay.
This is what I usually do. So either maybe tell us a little bit, something that God's revealed to you more recently, maybe some advice to maybe someone that's going through this, or just to women in general, or something that I haven't gave you the opportunity to really talk about, and you were like on the way here, like, I really want to say this, and I haven't gave you the chance to do so. So how do you want to end it?
I want to talk to not just women, but just to ladies, to girls. Know your body. Don't take no if something's doesn't feel right. Know yourself. And for the folks, and it's not just ladies, it's men.
Yeah,
too.
that is true.
It's men too. I have a good friend that he has metastatic breast cancer right now. But you're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone. A friend, when she told somebody that she knew about me, she said, I'm sorry that your friend has breast cancer, but she won't be the last one. It's 1 in 8. That's the odds. I heard it's probably dropping to 1 in 7. But you're not alone. And I'm just so thankful for the ladies and men, but mostly ladies, that walked the path before me so that I can do what I do now. And just know you're not alone.
Yeah. I love how you said don't take no for an answer, because your original OBGYN literally said, no, well, it's fine. But you were persistent.
If I had listened to that person, because I was only 35, I would not have made 40. I would have not lived to 40.
Wow.
And at that time, that was the age for having a mammogram.
Wow. Because I know, like, there's so many times even just me too, I'm like, no, I'm young, but you're saying like 35, and I wouldn't even have made it to 40.
Yeah.
And so it's so important to know your body and to get your checkups regularly and just be aware of the things that could possibly be like a sign of those. Like, what are maybe some signs that you would like to say?
I wish I had it with me. There's a great graphic of lemons. It's a dozen lemons. And it shows different signs. And one is the inverted nipple. One is, how a lemon, when it gets old, how the peel gets dry and flaky. That's one of the signs. I can't think of all the others, but doing a self-exam.
Yeah.
Do a self-exam. And if you're young, they say the week after your cycle, if you're postmenopausal or you've had a hysterectomy, doesn't matter when, because, but I always pick my birthday because that's going to come around the 4th is going to come around every month, and just do the same day each month. But just know your body.
Yeah. Well,
And if something doesn't feel right, ask.
Yeah. That's good. This has been so good. I absolutely enjoyed hearing your story. And I actually...
This shirt. I forgot about a shirt. So this was this shirt is vintage.
Oh, I love it.
Vintage.
Reach out and tell a friend.
Reach out and tell a friend. Our Sunday school class started it started as a girls' night for a Sunday school class, just to do a little breast cancer awareness. And it turned into over 100 ladies.
Wow. That's a big group.
It had a big group. Anissa Drigger sang. My friend Kim, who's a nurse navigator, she came and talked on the clinical side. We sold these cute little T-shirts. But before, when we needed a verse, we were talking to somebody. Actually, it was Brother Dennis who recommended this verse.
What is it? Galatians 6:7.
Galatians 6:2.
6:2. I must be dyslexic. So I literally, okay. Yeah, but it's bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ.
Yep.
That's beautiful. And so who designed those? They're so cute.
We did.
Y'all just all came collectively.
We came together and collectively did them, and I'll pull it out every now and then. And
today was a great day.
Today was a great day to pull it out.
Yes. Well, 19 years.
19 years. Next year will be 20, so we will celebrate big.
Absolutely. That is a big thing. Marriage, 30 years. That's an accomplishment. 20 years. A survivor. Like, God is just so good. He has just been through all your story and just been there through it all. And it's just so beautiful. Well, this has been so good, Rachel. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this as much as we have. Make sure you check us out, rate us, comment. If you have any questions, concern, comments, we are here to answer them. I'll be able to pass it along to Rachel. Stay tuned, stay blessed, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.